I call this the opportunity triage, and in government contracting, what it really means is having an extremely high level of efficiency when it comes to selecting the right projects that you are going to go after, that you're going to pursue. And the goal in everything here is to just have a win rate that is just insanely high. You're not wasting your time, you're not losing very often, you're putting so much just thought and process into the initial phase of selecting the best projects for you that you're not wasting a lot of time. So let's get right into it. The core framework that I have here really is kind of three things: the radar, the gate, and the filter. And I'm going to go into each one of those individually in this video. You're going to have a great understanding by the end. Radar is just all of the opportunities that pop up on your screen. It's the first level. The gate is the evaluation of all those opportunities and kind of the selection of what's going to get through to the next level. And the last one, filter, is just which opportunities are cleared to actually enter your pipeline. Draft the proposal, submit it, go and win. But before I get into this, please click that little subscribe button below. Now let's go. Now there's a lot of talk all over the YouTube about using AI to write proposals to win government contracts. This is going to go really deep into using AI at a super high level on top of processes, because it's not just all about AI. AI, of course, sneaks in the places where it's strategically helpful, but having these super high processes, tools, everything else should form kind of a stack that you use internally to select the right projects that you're going to pursue. All right, now let's get into the first one, radar. All right, we're going to go over the first one, radar. Now, your keyword search and how you locate bids is going to be just the tip of the spear. It's the beginning of everything. So there are a lot of good opportunities that really don't announce themselves very clearly. And there are some bad opportunities that kind of show their face as a good opportunity. So how do you distinguish between the difference? Now, one thing that I find is I think most folks out there that are going after government bids have filters that are too loose. You don't want to have too tight of a filter because, you know, think of it like there's a narrow pathway and you have all these opportunities here, but you're missing the ones outside. But I think a lot of companies go way too wide on the margin, and inside of these wide margins are a lot of opportunities that have nothing to do with you. So this is going to be just kind of like the beginning of the process to get you going on finding the right opportunities for you, the right number, and the highest quality. So let's jump right in. Now, a lot of people know about what a NAICS code is. It's basically a 6-digit code that's used to classify businesses by the type and basically the economic activity. So it's kind of like who you are. You're an IT company. You are an engineering firm. So that's kind of what NAICS code is. But there's another one that's a little bit lesser known called a PSC. And this is a 4-digit code. And 4 characters, and it more or less describes products, services, kind of R&D purchases that are by the federal government. And this is more kind of in line with what the government is actually buying. So the differences here are what I'm about to dive into, and I'm going to show you kind of in real live action the differences in how you're searching for bids based on those. And I'm going to throw in a third variable, keyword searching, because that, maybe that's a good route as well. Basically contrasting NAICS codes to PSC, NAICS codes focuses on the who, and PSC focuses on the what, kind of like the type of product or service. So PSC actually reveals a lot and narrows the search quite a bit. And we're going to look and see if you can have confidence in that search, even though it's very, very narrow. Are you going to have worry that there are good opportunities floating around outside of the search, and that you should invest more of your time, looking at the big, kind of widening your bubble. So I've got a whole great example I want to show you. I'm pretty excited about this. So I just randomly chose generators. So selling generators, power generators. So there are 3 different bid speed searches I have going on right now. So this is based on the PSC. This one searched based on a NAICS code for generators, and this is for the keyword generators. And the whole, purpose behind this little, experiment is to kind of yield which is the best approach, and maybe there's some sort of hybrid that you come up with for your particular industry and your business. So first of all, if you don't use bid speed, I'm not getting a penny by advertising for them, but they're good friends of mine. If you're not using BidSpeed, just email me. I will get you the setup and everything. Their freemium version is fantastic, and their paid versions are even better, of course. But everything I'm doing here is actually just with their freemium version, so this is not something you would even have to pay for. They basically take in SAM and other opportunities and make them way more searchable, and this filtering basically saves you a ton of time, gives you a lot of better insight as well. So like I said, just email me, sales@gsafocus.com, and just say, hey Josh, I saw your video and I want to get that BidSpeed set up for me. Now, let's get right into it. So first of all, let's kind of just give a really basic, I just have this one to play around. With this one, if we scroll, these are all the search areas, and you can see I have the PSC code for generator. I actually made, limited everything to California as well. And for this particular one, I'm going to apply the filter. I think there are 72. Let's say, so this kind of gives you an idea. Now, I'm not going to go deep into this because BidSpeed is great at, offering up videos and support to kind of get to know this, but this panel right here is what we're kind of working in. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. So we're going to compare the three. That's actually what a big chunk of what we're going to do here today is. So this is the PSC. Apparently I have to change that in there a bunch. So the PSC, when I took the actual code 6115 for generators and put it in there were 72. And of course, these are in California because I just wanted to play with a data set that was a pretty manageable number. 72 open bids for this PSC code. This is, pretty refined, I would say. In fact, of all three, this is the one with the fewest number of results. But these are some pretty high, center of the target results. Everything is basically around generators. Generator. Okay, let's jump over to NAICS code. So I just dropped the term NAICS code in here. Again, this is also just in California. 445 opportunities. And you might be saying, oh, well, that's more opportunities. I obviously want to go with NAICS code. But before you start thinking that way, you're going to want to really kind of take a look at this. So the PSC codes for these are actually really telling. You have medical and surgical instruments, electrical control equipment, kind of generator related. But as you scroll down, water turbines, this is a more diluted list. This doesn't have as many great opportunities. In fact, you're going to be wasting a lot of time looking down this list. Okay, there's a good one, generator. And, oh, there's a weird PSC code for that one. So yeah, that would have been missed. But anyways, the long story short is that NAICS code gives you more results, but not as refined, not as perfect. And then the last one, I threw this in there as well, is to just do a full text search for the term generator, and that yielded 4,400 results, a lot. But look at this, shielding replacement. I don't think we're gonna see, okay, the third one has to do with generator. We have to keep going for a while to get to another generator one. So keyword is gonna waste a lot of your time. Do you wanna sit here all day and scan through 4,400 opportunities? That's a lot of wasted time. So if you're currently using keyword searching rather than NAICS codes, or even better, PSC codes, you're probably not too happy when it comes time to go and research opportunities. And maybe in your category, whatever it is, PSC code and NAICS code together as kind of a hybrid search is the better way to go. Who knows? But yeah, this kind of gives you a good kind of little bit of reveal of some good stuff. Now here's where things got kind of fun and kind of interesting. I just took a random generator company and I found their capability statement, and what I did was I hit this little download button. You can actually export all results into a spreadsheet. So I did that for all three of these, PSC, NAICS code, and keyword. It had all the records. So like the keyword one had the 4,400 records, opportunities. NAICS code had the 400, what was it? 445, PSC had 72. So I then loaded both of those up right into ChatGPT. I took this capability statement and the PSC code one, loaded them up, and I just kind of went with a prompt that, you can download it below, but it basically just said, how many of the opportunities on this spreadsheet are a good match for the company based on the uploaded capability statement. And here's what I got. Let's take a look at it. So here I'm going into ChatGPT. Let me kind of duck over here now. Okay, so here's the PSC match. Yeah, so it gave a lot of information information, it uploaded. Short answer, 72 opportunities. I did the same thing here, you'll see, for NAICS codes. I did the same thing for keyword and got some pretty good results. In fact, it gave the results. So this is actually the results. I kind of distilled them into actual calculations. With keywords of the 4,400, about half, 46.2%, were fairly decent match. Not bad. So if you're going to go through those 4,400, you're going to get a lot. That with the NAICS codes, also about half, 51.5%, were a pretty close match relating to generators or generator parts. Now here's something interesting. The PSC code, 100% accuracy. So if you have, if you're selling generators and you only have the bandwidth to submit, let's say 5 to 10 a month, the ones in here are going to keep you plenty busy and you're going to save a lot of time in that initial selection phase. Now, I went a level deeper and I also asked ChatGPT, okay, what is the win probability among the 4,400 in there? And it said, okay, well, they're not as high quality, but you'll probably get about 100 wins out of that group, which is about a 4.9% win rate. So basically, if bandwidth wasn't an issue and you submitted for those 2,038 bids, you'd win about 100 of them, 4.9%. NAICS codes, same thing, 10 wins, 10.5. If you submitted 229 bids, you'd win 10, 4.6%. PSC codes, so if you submitted the 72 bids, 5.5 would be wins. That's a 7.6%. So just wanted to give you some kind of drilled down numbers to have better visibility into that. So that's about what you got. Now, what to do with this is just that take in how many bids you are capable of submitting a month. And if it's lower than 72 and you're in the generator world, you probably just want to search for PSC codes. Maybe NAICS codes, 445 sorting through isn't the end of the world. Going into keywords, you may want to play around with that, but I would have an or an and. I would kind of like filter in a certain way that made it so it eliminated a lot of the generator ones. That is the takeaway here. Now, wasn't that a pretty fun little math detour? I love math. So really what we learned was that AI can suppress the lower probability opportunities, wrong contract types, and irrelevant scopes for you, and just really clear out the path so that you can focus on the ones that are gonna be a better chance of winning. So the goal here of Radar, my very first one, is just to consider your bandwidth and determine your bids per month goal. And that's it. Now let's move on to the second one, Gate. If you remember, it's Radar, Gate, Filter. So Gate, this is where the opportunity triage really kind of gets evaluated. And, we're kind of going to be diving in now into, just kind of the 3-minute reality check, I call it. So this is just asking some of the bigger picture questions about an opportunity. We're kind of drilling down. Let's say PSC generated 72 bids. Among those, you're looking at each one and you're asking these questions. Is there money behind this notice? Is the timeline realistic? Is the set aside actually viable? And we could even go delete that and just stick to this. So you can evaluate in 3 minutes or less many bids and eliminate them just by using the Gate method. Now, as you can probably tell, AI is great for this as well. So of course, use that. In fact, there is a prompt. There's a really great prompt in the prompt tool below in the library. So in the description, grab that. For sure, I built out a very high level AI prompt that basically does a lot of this for you and helps you evaluate it. I'm going to kind of skip over that because you have access to it. I'm just going to assume you're going to download it and that you're going to use it. Now, one thing we can do, and kind of wanted to do this, is to just evaluate an actual response. Let's have some fun here. So here's the PSC one. What are we in? This is, okay, let's just find generator replacement. Looks good. At a fire station, fun. So if we go here, you can actually click on attachments. We can download that attachment. All right, there it is. So I'm just gonna download it to my desktop and I guess it's saving. No, it won't let me. Okay, I kind of get in the way here. So there we go. Now I'm a little bit better off. Okay, now let's go to ChatGPT and let's just do a new chat. I'm gonna grab that prompt that I mentioned. This is actually it. So you're gonna actually get to lay your eyes on the prompt that I built. And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take the document I just downloaded for that station generator replacement, and I'm actually going to just drop in this capability statement from a company that it's random that I found them. So it's uploading. I'm gonna hit go. And ChatGPT is pretty fast today. Okay, so here we go. ChatGPT is running through everything. It pulled a lot of the details about this, kind of the scope summary of the generator replacement project. Win probability at 18. That's a low probability. There's some deadline information. That's good to know. In fact, the deadline's passed. That's probably why it's so low. Yeah, set aside, small business, set aside, all this stuff. So this right here is so great. This gives you a very clear picture. I'd say 85–90% picture of that opportunity, and it lets you know really quickly if there is a problem, a risk that you just can't overcome. So just wanted to run through that real fast. You will love doing this because it's going to save you so much time. Now I wanted to just kind of go over like the discipline of emotion. So what if this is the one? That's not a strategy. So you will always want to just kind of keep a cool mind when it comes to selection. Most losing bids are not really logical mistakes, they're emotional ones. Try to balance emotion and logic and just be very sterile about your decisions. And that's actually what AI is really good at. AI is kind of like a robot, right? It's like a robot that can come in and help you not really make the decision for you, but it can give you a lot of the details to help you make a very clear decision, because you may say, oh, that, you know, I'd love to go into a fire station and do that. There can be a flood of kind of emotional desires, but AI will give you kind of the very black and white, literally, rundown, and you can evaluate that and say, no, that's actually not a great thing. I'm going to pass on it. And that kind of brings us to just the final part, and this is going to be the filter. And this filter is basically the selection for pursuit. So you only have enough resources for X proposals per month. Every company's different. Every company has a different proposal team size and capabilities and proposal library and all those sorts of resources. These are all resources that help you put out a certain number a month. Now, you should have a good feeling or a goal, like we want to submit 5 per month or 10 per month, whatever it may be. And that gives you kind of the parameter that you're going to reach for, and you're going to go after those per month, and that can actually work backwards pretty nicely into how you're going to search for them. Are the PSC results good enough? Of those 72, are you going to reach the 5 a month that you need to get? Or maybe not. Maybe you need to go PSC plus NAICS codes. Those are going to give you a lot of opportunities to search out. And really what it comes down to is just discipline and knowing thyself. And these are the key factors. So that being said, I think it's really important that every company has a, I call it the kind of this filter of, asking, is this a profitable project as you're evaluating? Is it probable? Is the dollar range way out of your reach? Is it like a $50 million project and you're a pretty small business? You're probably not gonna have the resources to deliver on that. Is the location out of scope of your location? Are you only operating in Mississippi and this is a Hawaiian project? And is the solution fit not quite there? So as you read through kind of what the RFQ states is what their needs are, is that in line with the niche of what you are? And then also just evaluating, do you have any advantages here? Was there anything in the RFQ as you were reading it or going through, having a conversation with AI where you said, ooh, my company's really good at that. That's actually something we excel at. And you just kind of got a nice little gut feeling there. That's, the gut feelings can be good. That's what humans are good for. And then the 5 hard rules, it doesn't need to be 5, but you should have just the hard rules. And these are hard rules because you learned them by hard knocks. What are the things that cause you to lose? Turn those into rules. So here's just an example list, minimum margin threshold. Maybe you took on a couple projects and you just kind of, it was a wash. You didn't make any profit on it. So evaluate, when that happens, why it happened, and try to get a feel for, future projects so that you can eliminate them and not pursue them. Past performance must map. So maybe it's an agency that you've never worked with and you're not sure about that. It's just whatever it may be, but you have a set of past performance. How does your past performance line up with the needs of the client? Number 3, the evaluation method must match the delivery model. So if you're seeing kind of a, apples and oranges between the way that you work and the way that they seem to want you to work, don't go after it. You're going to have to adapt too much, and something's going to get lost. They're probably not going to be happy with your work, and you're probably not going to be happy with the way everything goes also. Timeline must allow clean execution. So don't get ahead of yourself. Don't get kind of too ambitious and say, I could stay up all night and I could build this proposal. It'll be just fine. Don't well, those last minute things, you're probably just gonna lose and you're gonna have a bad night's sleep. Contract structure must fit self-perform teaming strategy. So this one I just kind of threw in there. So it could be 3, it could be 5, it could be 10, but have some hard rules that kind of govern you and are your North Star rules that guide you towards winning proposals. And also just have discipline around these rules. If a rule is violated by an RFQ, it's not open to debate. You're not pursuing that unless there's just a very compelling reason to. Thanks for watching. Now take everything that you've learned here, go wrap it up into some trained AI, like building a GPT, and get after it. But before I leave you, I wanted to just go over a few last things just to kind of wrap up the concepts. So when you are building that AI agent or that trained AI, you really want to focus on the inputs. Now below in the description, you're gonna have access to my prompt library. It's ever growing and it's fantastic at this point, and it's just gonna be getting better and better. So make sure you get your hands on that. But for the inputs, you're gonna wanna put in your past wins and losses and then just an evaluation of them. So like, which deals do you regret bidding on because you lost and you realized later on you never had a chance? Use that for training. It'll help you later on. And then on the flip side, kind of which deals are did you win? And you want to get more deals like those. Feed those into and train AI with those as well and identify them. Say, that project I did with HUD was perfect, it was profitable, great relationship with the customer. This bid that I put in for the Army, I never was gonna win it to begin with. It was a really bad waste of time. And by submitting those proposals in there and training it, your AI tool is going to be much more powerful to help you in a very specific way. Now remember what we went over. It's all about fewer bids and an increased win rate. I call it a batting average sometimes, but you should try to always have a good feel for where you're at, month by month, quarter by quarter, however you want to measure it in intervals of time. Always have a good understanding. That's a KPI that is probably the most important one for your capture team. And remember, professionals don't bet on the lottery. They go and they build pipelines and they just manage them with discipline. They also are extremely consistent in enforcing their standards, and that's a big part of what we talked about today. I would call all of this stuff building out your standards. And AI is a very big tool when it comes to enforcing your standards. And this really is because us as humans, we get tempted to drift into different directions, whereas AI is kind of like a robot. It's always going to do the same thing in a pretty reliable way. So between our creativity as humans and the just extreme consistency of AI, we can put those together, and if married in the right way, it's gonna lead to some pretty magical stuff. And that magic really lives in just eliminating losses, going after the right projects and not going after the wrong ones. Once opportunity selection improves, you're gonna find that everything gets easier. You're gonna love going after bids because you're gonna not feel like they're futile, and you're going to have a really good feeling every time you go after one. And again, down in the description below, you're gonna gain access to my ever-growing AI prompt library. You're gonna wanna grab those prompts because they're going to save you time, and they're also going to help you just gain access to those hard to see insights that AI is so good at surfacing. Remember to subscribe by clicking the button below. Thanks for watching.